Peace to the saints. Today we are here with a unique and meaningful conversation. Gentleman reached out to me, said he wanted to have a debate. And so here we are. I'm going to yield the floor for the gentleman to introduce himself, and then I'll formally introduce the topic, the video that led us here, and we'll get going.
Yes, good morning from here, Fargo, North Dakota. My name is DeMontre Cole. I am my profession, I don't really have one right now. I work at Chipotle while I'm in school full time, but I'll be graduating next month. So,
well, congratulations on that. There's nothing wrong with hard work. I recommend it. So we're wishing you much success in that. I appreciate you coming on and being willing to represent your position. Per usual, before the call, all we ever do is I just ask the folks like, hey, if you wouldn't mind, avoid racial slurs, slurs related to sexual orientation and all of the like. And then we get going. So we get to learn each other during the conversation. So there was a particular video that spoke to you that prompted you to say, hey, let's talk about it.
Absolutely.
Do give the folks some context on that, if you would.
Like I say, I saw the video yesterday on your Instagram story, but I had saw the video already on Twitter. That's where I originally saw it.
Okay.
And when I saw it, it deeply disturbed me. I think for me, I think the reason why it disturbed me because
would you be kind enough to tell folks which video you're referring to?
We're talking about the video where the black woman is beating her son with a baseball bat because he has snuck a gentleman into the home in the hours of when sleeping hours. And from my understanding in the video, the gentleman knocked over a vase or something. That's how the mother was alert that someone else was in her home at the time.
Right. And the video on Twitter, I don't think I actually posted that on Twitter. I'm assuming that was someone else posted it, like reposted.
Yeah, I just was one day in the room strolling, and when I saw it, just thousands of comments, and then people were posting her response because she is on TikTok, and she, for some reason, I don't know why really she put it out there, but then she went back and put out why and when and what led up to all this kind of things.
Oh, that's really interesting. I'll have to see if I can get in contact with her. You might have to shoot me that Twitter link if you get a chance.
It didn't change my opinion about her. But
I bet. I don't know her story, and I think that she probably has a very valid, meaningful perspective, and I think it's probably worth hearing. But anyways, there you go, folks. And I may play the video at some point just so everyone has a greater sense. But essentially, the gentleman is saying he saw a video of a black single mother taking a bat to her son for bringing in his homosexual bedmate in the middle of the night to her home. And you said that disturbed you. Why is that?
Because I saw myself. I saw my own upbringing. I saw my own mother. And I just thought to myself, and I don't want to turn this into like I'm attacking my mom because I'm not, but anyone who really knows me, when you really get to know me, I sugarcoat nothing. I'm very honest about my experience. I'm honest about the experience of young LGBT, but not just LGBT communities, young black men, and what I see and the damage that I think single mothers do when they raise black men on their own.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. Now, I think there's a number of conversations that have to be had. I commend you for being willing to have the conversation, and so far so good. So far reasonably peacefully. What is your gripe with your mother at this stage, other than, I guess, when you say you saw your mother in that video clip and you saw yourself, I'm assuming you're the fella you were inviting dudes back to your family home.
No, I was not. I didn't do that. I did not. And for context, I am a bisexual man. I've had relations with gentlemen and women, but no, I've never. Wild. I did it. It was mainly for fear because my mom her personality made it clear, not in so many, and don't do this. It was her personality. So I just never crossed that barrier, but I definitely snuck out
Yeah. He was doing the most. Well, let me let you in on a secret with black mamas.
Mhm.
Listen, I tried to slide some of them bad little tings to the house. You heard me? I got busted one good time. I probably did it like 50 times. I'm a smooth criminal. I got busted one time. It didn't go well. You heard me? It didn't go well. It wasn't because it was, whether it was, in my case, is a woman, of course, but
Mhm.
I don't think your mom probably would have turned up because only because it's a dude. It's because you're sneaking someone into the house, which I
Absolutely.
think is itself is crazy. We agree there, right?
And I don't, and I want to make it very clear what this young man was doing was, I'm not going to even, because I feel like the first thing people are going to say is, oh, he was putting people in danger. I feel like we've been
Low
hearing that
key.
for 20 years. And the reality is, in those situations, they're just trying to get their rocks off. They're just
That's
trying to hook
crazy.
up. It's
That's
it's
crazy.
crazy. And I'm 34.
Hmm.
So the generation behind me, I sometimes feel like it's wild because they're starting, women and young ladies, they're just starting everything too early, way too early. I tell people all the time, even though I'm a part of the community, but I feel like I'm not really, because I don't really go out, I don't do certain things, I don't go like the LGBTQ events, because the type of mindset I am, I just like a certain type of vibe, and I feel like, I'm not really into the club and all the rainbows and color kind of thing. That's just
Okay.
not that's not my thing. However, no judgment for the ones who enjoy it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's all wild. It's all wild. There's no doubt about that. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, good brother. Um, when you say bisexual, I'm over here like, how
wait, wait,
sway?
wait.
And then the deeper part when you say bisexual, I'm like, well damn, bro, if you like both, man, just come on over to the good side. It's kind of like this. You heard me? Like if you go to the restaurant and let's say you're in India, right? And in
Mhm.
India, they revere the cow. So
Okay.
eating beef is frowned upon.
Hmm.
So if you like beef and chicken, why not just like, you know what, bro? Most people eat chicken out here and beef is frowned upon. I'm going for the chicken, man. Like I could live without the beef.
Yeah.
It's not
Well,
necessary.
here's the thing, and may I respond to that?
Please.
Um, when people ask me, because my father, God rest his soul, we didn't, and I'll get back into it later on about my relationship with my mom. But I wanted to tell
Mhm,
you, my relationship with my father, we really didn't have one.
mhm.
We started getting a little closer, maybe a few months before he died.
Okay.
He was. I had high respect for his faith. He was a Muslim, and I've
Damn, what kind of
always,
Muslim was this nigga?
well, he had basically had joined the Nation of Islam when he
Okay.
went to prison, like many
Ah.
black men. And my father was a drug dealer, and
Mhm.
he spent 18 years in prison, and then
That's a
then
long time.
found he went in when I was 2, and
Okay.
when he got out, I can't think. I'm not good with math, but it was in
Sure.
2012. It was in
Okay.
2012 when he got out. So I was
Yeah.
already in my 20s. Life had already happened to me. I already had 100 experiences,
Right.
mostly bad.
I
so,
bet.
um, you know, and it was really in those last moments of his of death, because he had congestive heart failure.
Okay.
Uh, I'll never forget, around February. I'll never forget. I went to my mom's house because they had rekindled what they had going on. He was sitting on the porch, and my father was like Snoop Dogg. He was very tall and lean.
Okay.
He was sitting there, and he could, he had his legs crossed, smoking his Cuban cigars. He loved Cuban cigars.
Okay.
And I remember I just said to him, I said, "Hey, Pop, your feet are kind of swollen. You're probably gonna get that check." He was like, "Yeah, and not really thinking much of it."
Mhm.
And by August, he was already dead.
Out of there. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. And at that time, did he know that you were guzzling Skittles or he didn't know about this?
He knew. We didn't talk about it because I knew that wasn't his thing. I mean, I didn't really
Okay.
have a reason to talk about it. He did meet a gentleman friend that I was dating at the time, and his response was, "Well, at least he's a man." That was his response in
Who's
terms
a
of
man?
the gentleman friend I was seeing at the time.
He was saying at least that guy's a man?
Yes, in terms of how
Well,
he
you
presented himself.
oh, that's crazy. Well,
Like,
your father is a tolerant Nation of Islam Muslim then. The ball is very tolerant. So I
well, I
guess you got
mean, I think he had his own personal opinion because he didn't even. I mean, he didn't even. When my sister was married a white man, he was totally against that. Like he just, uh, totally against it. I mean, but he didn't really. He was a quiet man, but we knew his
Which one
stance.
was it? Which one do you think he was more against, the white man or the gay man?
Person, the gay one.
Okay, fair enough. I was
But
about to
also,
say this nigga is crazy.
but
Bring
also
the white ball. Bring two white guys. Goddamn it, get two white guys.
but also at the same time, when my sister divorced this man and they split, he wouldn't even go and help move my sister out because the relationship turned abusive. And he just didn't, him being in prison, he was still on parole, so he didn't want to go over there and get his, so we went over there and, but again, he was just a very, I say this with respect from my father. I mean, there are times I miss him, man. There are times that I can wake up there are times I've had women and gentlemen tell me that I talk in my sleep about my dad, and
That's
I talk.
crazy.
And I woke up in tears about him if I'm having a dream about him, because there's a lot of unhealed trauma there. But there are times I don't miss him because he was just so difficult to pretty much get along with, and he didn't understand, especially when it came to the children. My father, I'd heard 17, I heard 21. Never asked him how many kids he had because it was just that many.
Boy was going
Yeah,
in.
I never got an opportunity to say, "Pop, how many kids you have?"
By the way, for the folks in that, if you have any comments, questions, feel free to send them in. I think this might be the most reasonable LGBTQ individual we may ever have on the show. So send in your comments, questions below if you have them. Let me take a moment, take a pause for the call. Shout out to Quadre. So, Quadre just went and got all of his Assassin athletic shorts. Those are the uniform shorts we use for our workouts. This man just copped 5 pair. Ballin, SASNbrand.com, log in, boss up. May I also acknowledge George, who just renewed his membership at thesassin.com. That's THESASN.com. Shout out to Jefferson, came in by Venmo, supporting the work using the information below. And I thank each and every one of you who support these meaningful conversations. Shout out to Roderick, who came in as well, supporting via PayPal. Appreciate you. May I also acknowledge William, he writes, "This is a great teachable moment. Don't let us down, Saint. Peace of the Saints." Listen, I've always delivered. You're me. You might as well call me DHL or FedEx. Yiddy. Anyways, let's get back after. So, you say you grew up. You're in Fargo, North Dakota.
I grew up in Florida. I grew up in Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
I already kind of know you're going to ask me how did I get to Fargo. It's a question that everybody asks me.
Right.
It's very so far from my reach.
In a real
I'm leaving Fargo January 11th because I'm going to do my student teaching in New Orleans.
Okay.
So how did I get to Fargo? Basically, make a long story short, I went to an alternative school and I was in high school. I graduated.
Oh, you was cutting up then.
Not so much. Not so much. I mean, this is why, to answer your question earlier, my mom and I don't have a relationship
At all.
I think if you ask her, she would say it's okay. But I know on my end, it's just, and the reason why I say we don't have a relationship because we don't talk about, I think, the things that we need to talk about in terms of the last time we got into an argument, and I remember I was sitting in my truck. I went down south, down to Tampa, and I did a temporarily substitute position because my goal was to be a teacher.
Okay.
And I was sitting in that car crying, and I said, you know what? These are the last tears I'm going to cry about this situation because it's just not. I've been crying these tears for too long, man.
You're talking about your relationship with your mother.
Yes, and because basically one of my Facebook friends, which I really ran to the gutter for doing it, well, he's not my Facebook friend. He's a friend who basically know my story. And one day I commented on something about just family values and, having a father in the home and women, and some of my mom's friends did not like my response.
What was your comment?
I mean, I can be a little, I'm a Taurus, so I can be a little, my comment was, I think that many brothers, I can't remember word from word, but here's the overall thing. Many Black men walk around and they got, this between their legs, but they really have the mindset of a woman. in every other capacity, their emotions, their
Mhm.
behavior, and it's predominantly because they have been raised in a single house home with a single woman who's surviving, trying to get over her trauma, and oftentimes she see her children as her get rich plan. This is why she uses their names and this and that and this, because she sees them as the ticket out.
Okay. Do you
And
think that this is consistent with single moms across the racial categories or particular ones? It's a woman thing. Is this a particular cultural experience?
I do believe that there are. Oh yes, definitely. Because I'm not going to just put that all in my community. I have a
Okay.
Dominican friend. He and I are both friends, and we met in the
Uh-huh.
whole in the world of doing opera and all that. And his
Mhm.
mom was very. We have very
What's the
similar
word?
stories.
Is
So
he also a
no,
homosexual?
he is not.
Okay. All right. Curious. Now, you know that with you being a homosexual, when you encounter other fellas who are heterosexual, do you
Mhm.
think that they feel like you're plotting on them, or you feel as
No,
though,
one, I don't think a majority of them probably know if I don't give, because I'm not gonna lie, I still show up in as Nella Larson, the great writer of the Harlem Renaissance, wrote a book entitled Passing in
Mhm.
1929, and I feel like I still do that today.
For some cats, I'm gonna tell you though, I looked at your
Yeah,
IG, my boy, and I saw one picture where you had a t-shirt tucked into your belt. I was like, bro is guzzling them Skittles. I was like, ain't no way. So you might be getting past some of them other rats, because you ain't getting past me though. I'm like, oh no, something different over here. But you comport yourself in a respectable way. And one thing that I teach people is that you engage people with the same level of respect that they engage you. You know,
absolutely.
you treat people honorably. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you agree with everything that they do or that you're going to invite them over for dinner. Like, those are different affairs. Now, with your mother, so it sounds as though your mother had a number of traits that created for a challenging upbringing. Do you believe that your mother was average IQ, below average IQ, or above average IQ?
Oh,
I'm just saying objectively.
my mom was very intelligent, still
Okay.
is.
Hmm.
My grandmother always said, this is one of the reasons that my grandfather and my grandmother did not like my father, because they felt that my mom was going to law school.
Hmm. Oh,
My mom
wow.
was a point. My mom was a point guard. You know, she
Mhm.
killed. I'd always heard throughout the hood and everything about my mom's athletic skills. You know, I saw the
Okay.
pictures in my great grandma's home, her dunking and all that. But they felt like when she got with my father, she lost focus about what she wanted to do, and in terms of goals and etc.
Okay.
Um,
Now, was
grandmother
she a
always
masculine man? Masculine man. Was your mother a masculine woman?
very much so, very much
Okay.
so.
Okay.
But she could be feminine. My mom stayed in the mirror. My mom wore nails, has nails like Coco from SWV. That was my mom's persona. My mom has a gold ring on each
Is that
finger.
feminine, or is that materialistic and narcissistic?
I
You
think
see,
it's
I think
material.
often we get those confused, because
Absolutely.
feminine is that which you essentially are because you are female.
Yeah.
The things that you buy, those are material and narcissistic, which is why you can find transgenders that have the fingernails and the hair and the makeup. You see,
Absolutely.
you dig what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Uh,
Okay.
her personality was my mom. If you okay, let's take Monique back in the day.
The
When,
fat girl.
yeah, when she was.
I'm just trying to make sure we talking about the same person. You talking about the one that's fat
Yeah,
and black.
when
Okay.
she was, at her largest. That was
Okay.
my
Damn.
mom. My mom was that size growing up. My mom, darker skinned woman.
Oh,
Uh,
Lord.
she.
That's a hard life.
My mom stays in the mirror. I mean, she was a pretty girl in a sense. I mean, my mom wasn't into jeans and all that. I mean, she, dressed up. She like, my mom is, big busted, and
Okay.
so femininity and masculinity, I think she portrayed. Okay, I'll put it this way. I saw a lot of her femininity when my father got out of prison,
Hmm.
because I used to always joke around and call her Edith Bunker, and I would call him Archie,
Okay.
because that's how their relationship was. It
Hmm.
was like one day I'll never forget. She was running around, trying to cook dinner, cleaning up at the same time, and she was doing all of that. And then she had to go pick him up from work. And
Hmm.
then when he got off of work, he was still complaining that the dinner wasn't complete and ready.
Right, because it should have been low key. It's like,
And I
damn.
thought to myself, now this is interesting, but again, he was an interesting man. I mean, I'll tell you like this, man. If a gentleman approaches me and has my father's traits, I probably wouldn't give him the time. I wouldn't be interested.
Well, that's probably a good sign, being that your father wasn't a homosexual, and also being that he's your father. I mean,
Meaning
that's probably a good sign.
personality traits. He was personality traits.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
also to go back with what you mentioned earlier, straight men. I mean, I don't have a problem because I don't approach people that way. I'm not one of those guys that are always trying to figure out if you are, if you aren't. I have never once approached anyone or got in anyone inbox, mostly out of fear of rejection. I mean, everybody that has ever approached has literally approached me, got into my inbox, walk up to me at a club. I mean, I have I have huge insecurities. So I just have never been the one to do the reaching out.
Yeah, got you. Okay. Now, with regards to your upbringing with your mother, was she
Mhm.
dating different fellas as you were,
She did date quite a few men. One in particular that 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 we just didn't like. I'm gonna keep it respectful, but we didn't like
Sure.
him, and it was proven why we didn't like him as we got
When you
older.
say we, you're talking about you and your mother, or you and your siblings?
My brother and my sister, none of us really liked him.
So there's
Um,
three of you in total,
my sister's the oldest, I'm the baby, and my brother's the middle child.
all by the same
By my
father.
father, yeah,
I'm gonna repeat that for the people because that's an important factoid.
yes.
So, father ends up going to do a little vacation for narcotics dealing. Your mother, at some point, was on a path to law school. They had three children together by the same two parents. As far as we know, we don't have a
Mhm.
DNA test, but I'm gonna take their word for it.
I look just like
And
my dad, so
okay, there you
oh
go.
yeah, I look just like him. It's crazy.
And you're the youngest of
Hmm.
the three.
I'm the baby,
So you would have experienced the least amount of time with your father in the
pretty
house.
much. Pretty
Okay.
much. I only can remember the only memory I have of him not being in prison was playing on his belly when we were a little kids. Because my father had one of those at the time before he started losing weight. He
Hmm.
had one of those beer bellies,
Hmm.
and all I can remember was in the living room playing on his belly, and that
Hmm.
was about it. Majority of my memories of my dad are pretty much going to see him
Behind the
incarcerated.
wall.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Nigga had a trampoline stomach. Shout out to Brandon, who just got the conference footage on mindset, personal finance, stock for dummies, IRA, and 401ks, and why real estate. Now, that's a great piece of education. You can get it at thesasson.com, THESASN.com. Click products, and it's only $29. I need to increase the price of that when I get a chance. That's insane. Okay, very good. May I also acknowledge via PayPal? Shout out to Mr. Williams, right? Peace of the saints. The deliverance of this lecture is to the highest quality. Respect to the big homie from South Africa. Shout out to the folks in South Africa. Listen to me, man. What kind of women you like? I know you guzzling Skittles every now and then, but what kind of women do you like from a physical standpoint?
um, chocolate. Definitely
Okay.
a black
Okay.
woman. I have no. I mean, I now being here in North Dakota has been
Hmm.
difficult because
Hmm.
I'm surrounded by nothing but white women, and I find many white women to be quite annoying. I just
Damn.
some kids criticize me because I wouldn't walk one to her car the other day at work.
Oh,
So
you said you would not walk her
no,
to her car?
like
It'd be dangerous, low key. Low
I
key.
was okay. Look, I'm basically cleaning the store. We're about to close, and there's this homeless guy, which is not North Dakota doesn't have a huge homeless population.
It's too cold.
So yeah, there's this black homeless guy. He's bothering nobody. We give him free food. We
Hmm.
give him a free drink. He's literally bothering nobody.
Okay.
I'm not really because I'm 6'5", so
Okay.
I'm not really I'm not bothered by him. But
Sure.
basically, he was standing outside, and people were passed by him all. But this one white woman who was maybe 50s, 60s came
Mhm.
in, and she said, he was kind of scaring her, et cetera, et cetera. Could
Mhm.
one of us walk her back to her car? Now, the other two gentlemen, who, by the way,
Uh-huh.
we're always having political conversations because they're Africans. Well, they were born. I kind of knew you were going to go there because I see.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Now, here's the thing: they were born in the States, so they've been
Mhm.
raised in America, but
Mhm.
both of their parents are actually Liberian
Oh,
and
wow.
one of them, his father is Jamaican, but they still have a different experience, and they're
Mhm.
younger too. I'm 34. I got them by a good they're the average. I'm older than the average bachelor's kid.
Chipotle worker.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when they asked me, I was like, I ain't doing that. And then they're like,
Mhm.
D, why? I'm like, she'll be all right. I mean,
Yeah.
her car's right there. I
Yeah.
mean,
You work at Chipotle, right? Like you make burritos. You're not a bouncer.
yeah. So I'm cleaning
The hell?
and look, here's the thing. I'm usually off Sundays. I just went in there because my apartment is literally right next to the Chipotle. So I just walked
Okay.
there to get me a bowl. And they're like, hey, D, we're short tonight. Can you come in and help us? So I said,
Okay.
sure. It's a little
Yeah.
extra
You're
money.
paying. Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
take the
So I
money.
went in there. I'm gonna break down the lobby, help with dishes, and then I'm out. I'm
Mhm.
cleaning the lobby, and I'm like, I mean, the white women don't walk in and out past that man. I'm not, no. And they were like, D, you don't think that's racist? I'm like, not really. I mean, it could be a little biased if you ask somebody, but I'm not. And then one dude's like, why you want to do that? I'm like, first of all, I'm not walking a white woman who I don't know
Hmm.
at 10 o'clock at night to her car. I'm not doing
Mhm.
that
Fair
because
enough.
to me, that's going to set me up for, you know,
It's possible. It's possible. So, would I be right to say that you're more into dudes than women?
I would say because I'm very particular with the type of ladies I like. One, I prefer to deal with a woman who is bisexual because I just think
Mhm.
it's an easier trait. I'm gonna keep it real, man.
Mhm.
Heterosexual women don't trust me. They don't have the. It's always a question of why, who, what, when the
Mhm.
last time, what it's just too many. It's just too many questions. It's just way too many questions that I don't want to go into that. Like I'm not asking you. I mean, I always I gotta say this story because I tell it every time. I went on a date. I was living in Atlanta. I lived on and off in
Oh
Atlanta.
hell no! You was in Atlanta, nigga was in the Mecca. I had to
So
get the hell up out of there, boy. Atlanta ain't right, but go ahead.
I lived in Atlanta on and off for like 8 years. So
Hmm.
met up with this chick at the airport. Literally, I was helping her with directions. A little on the heavier side, which I don't necessarily always go for. I like something a little bit more on the petite side.
Okay, so you like them brown skin and slim?
Yes, but and
Okay.
because I feel like I'm a big dude. I'm 6'5".
Mm-hmm.
I weighed the last time I weighed myself, I was 352.
352.
So,
Okay.
and that's not, I'm not proud of that. I'm
Hmm.
on my weight loss journey.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
God,
working at Chipotle ain't gonna help your ass, but keep going.
thank God I'm tall because
Yeah. Yeah.
if I was shorter, that weight would extremely show.
You look like a black Danny DeVito, but keep going.
So I went on a date with this girl, I met her and she walked right up to me. I was giving her directions and she said,
Uh-huh.
thank you. And she said, thank you, sexist. I'm like, okay, she's into me, whatever.
Hmm.
So, and she came back in the coffee shop I was managing in the coffee shop. I had done food management for like 10 years.
Okay.
We went on a date and everything and went on 2 dates.
Hmm.
And the second date, she finally told me, I can't really, I know about your other life, etc. So she was willing, but then she was like, nah, because if people don't understand this, if I'm dating somebody, I'm not going back and forth. Like, I don't see a point in doing that. Um,
she
so,
thought you was visiting Tambuzi every other night.
so we were at the dinner table, and now I was willing to. Now she had 2 children,
Mhm. Oh,
and
she had two
both,
kids?
she had 2 children, and
Okay.
they're by different men.
That
And
sounds like Atlanta.
I said to her, so you can't accept the fact, my exact words, because she was asking me the questions of, all the guys or whatever. So I said, so you can't accept the fact that I've been with men, but you expect me to accept the fact that you've caught your legs up for quite a few men, and you've got 2 children by 2 different brothers who clearly not doing much for you or the children. And she was like, oh, that's cold. And I was like, that's just the truth. That's not cold. That's just the truth. How are you going to put an expectation on me and not expect that in return?
So
I
we
knew
should
you had those.
basically throw all the single moms to y'all, to the
I
bisexuals. I ain't tripping. Y'all can have them.
I basically felt like I walked into that date knowing you had those 2 children. So I was
Hmm.
willing to say, whatever. We've all made some dumb mistakes. I've
Hmm.
made plenty.
She
So
did
let's
it
get to know.
twice.
Hmm?
I said she made 2 of them. Yeah.
And that was also the conversation of that Facebook post with my family, because I said I do not think it is good for you to keep having children
Mm-hmm.
by multiple different men. I don't see a point in that. That's
Mm-hmm.
not going anywhere. And that's when a lot of my mother's friends thought my comments were, biased toward women, or et cetera, or you know, and it
That's because
and
they're
it
slores and they're animals.
and it basically led to a friend of mine making a post that I wish he wouldn't have done that, because he basically stated that my mom damaged me pretty much, and that your family is jealous of you because things that I do, like for instance, I was in my early 20s, I was pursuing a career as an opera singer. That's what I wanted at the time.
Okay.
And then I got heavily into my writing, and as a poet, as a writer of essays and fiction. So I just do things that are not my family and I, we don't have much in common. The type of music I
Mm.
enjoy, the type
Mhm.
of literature I read.
You the
Uh,
deepest nigga working at Chipotle though by far, right?
you know,
It could be said. The nigga go there like, "Hey, bro, can I get some more damn rice on my burrito?" He'd be like, "Well, Chaucer, Canterbury's Tales,
but I'm
doth
also,
thy wantest more."
but I'm also the most annoyed because, for instance, the big bosses came in town and they immediately put me in the dish room. I didn't
Why
have a
is that?
problem with it because I don't have a problem with that, because it's like I get annoyed very easily. I get very annoyed very easily in terms of stupidity. I don't have time for that. Like, I'm all about communication,
Mhm.
articulation,
Mhm.
saying what you want, mean what you say. Like, don't waste my time.
Mhm.
Like, you come in Chipotle ain't going nowhere. Like, if you go walk into a McDonald's, you should know what you want. McDonald's have been around since the 50s.
Niggas come to Chipotle like, "Oh man, bro, let me get they be in
Yes,
there
and
cut
it's
up."
like, I see you quite often. You're probably going to get the same thing, and I mean, it's just like, stop wasting my time and stop wasting yours. So when the big people came in town, they were like, "Hey D, would you mind going and doing dishes today?" I had no problem doing that, because don't leave me alone. Don't
Mhm.
aggravate me. My general manager is 21. So
That's crazy. Thank God, couldn't be me. So your sister's obviously heterosexual, dating the whites. And you said this fella was putting his hands on her.
yes, he was basically
Damn,
his person.
that's the L.
He was basically, I think our family accepted him because he was the Eminem type of white boy. He was,
Okay.
you can tell, had been around black people for a very long time. He wasn't the white person that went to Harvard or Princeton or Cornell. That
Uh huh.
wasn't him. He was very
Okay.
much into rap. He enjoyed rap
Mhm.
music. So he
Mhm.
was accepted by the family, but that
Uh-huh.
relationship turned abusive.
Yeah.
And
Apparently his favorite song was "Whip That Ho, Whip That." But okay, so then your the middle child, your older brother, does he guzzle Skittles at all?
he does. He did.
Damn, God,
He is, but he's not at all interested in women at all.
at all? Oh, he didn't went the whole mile.
He and I have deep conversation. Like, when we sit on the porch, I always say some of our best conversations, me, my sister, and my brother on the porch, and we talk about our experiences. And I tell my
Mhm.
brother, you know what you're missing. I mean, I always say, I call it, a little gateway to heaven. I mean, you know what you're missing, bro. And
Have you guys ever guzzled Skittles together?
oh no, no, absolutely not.
You never guzzled each other's Skittles.
Not interested.
Okay.
No, no, no. My
Okay.
sister told us something that she had done, and
Uh-huh.
I just almost vomited. Like, it just
What
was
did
like,
she do?
well, we were talking about our experiences, what we've done, have we, a little fun here and there. And she said she had fun with two people who were brothers, and I looked at her like, you know, like, yeah,
Oh,
that's
dang. She got the a train.
yeah. And I
Wow.
was like, what the fuck? And I
Uh,
don't have an issue with you being sexually, whatever, but brothers, I'm like, nah, I'm good with that, man. Like, that ain't fine over here, bro.
hey, it's all evil. It's all evil. Wow. Okay. Now, with all of these sexually extreme behaviors, where do you believe is the origin of what caused this to be consistent in the your siblings?
Um, Now you're getting deep here. I was kind of um we have wait, would you mind if I get my another bottle of water come empty?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Hydrate. Take you a shot of Jack. Drink some Thug's Passion. Okay, let me see who's supporting the work. You guys, you can use the information on the banner to support this good work. I also acknowledge shout out to Justice, who also got the conference footage called Mindset, Personal Finance, Stock for Dummies, IRA, 401ks, Why Real Estate Now. You know, the funny thing, I made this piece of education some time ago, and the stock market under Trump is one of the few things he's done well. The stock market's been at all-time highs, so you would have made a good amount of money. So it's important to get the knowledge now so you can be prepared for tomorrow. Anyways, I yield the floor to you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man.
Okay. There's the first homosexual black person I ever met. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I don't recall meeting the first like black homosexual until I was like in the 9th grade. Like I honestly thought that only like Caucasians were gay, meaning non-black people. I didn't believe that black people were gay because I'd never seen any. And it was also very much so shunned in the culture. So not until I was in the 9th grade had I met a homosexual. And it was literally just one because it was not a thing. You feel me? There was one gay fella that actually I'd worked with at a job. And then there was one female who claimed she was gay in high school, but it's crazy because the homies ran a train on her in middle school. They wasn't telling nobody that they were selling tickets or anything. I missed out on that one because she had crazy body. But anyways, she got a train ran on her. So I didn't even realize. I was like, she fake gay. She ain't even real gay with it. But the fella at my at the after school program I worked at, I wrote about in this book because it was a very impactful story he told me. And I'll tell you here in brief, and you can let me know if any of this resonates. There was a time, there was a number of folks who worked at this after school program. There's one young lady named Erin, dark skinned, tall, black female, beautiful, not the smartest woman you'd meet, but gorgeous. Like definitely something you got on there raw and skeet on in a real way. Genetic masterpieces. And then there was another guy named Eric, light-skinned guy, green eyes, good-looking fella, good build on him. And then there's another guy, he called himself Mr. Tigger. You can tell this is the gay one. He called himself Mr. Tigger. He was older than everybody else. I was about 16. Eric was maybe like 22. Aaron was maybe like 19. And then Mr. Tigger was like maybe like 25 or something like that. We're sitting down at the bench after work hours one time having a conversation. And then he's looking at Aaron, who's fine as all get out. And he says to her, he says, you know what? You are so pretty. You know, if I, and these are his exact words. He said, if he hadn't been touched as a child, he would definitely be spitting game at her. And then like me and Eric kind of like turned like, nigga, what? Nigga, you done took the conversation to a different level. We wasn't trying to go there. Me and Eric look at him off of some, nigga, if you don't knock it off. And then Aaron looked at him, you know, as a woman, all sympathetic. And then so I guess he felt like that was time to elaborate. And then he elaborated in that his mother, who similar to yours was a single mother and similar to yours was dealing with a lot of guys. And unfortunately, human beings can be really animal-like. And so one of these males, not even a man, one of these males that his mother was dating had basically been abusing him for some time. And he stated that at the beginning, he hated it. And then he started to like it, which was insanity. You know, just for someone who's so removed from that experience to even comprehend it. And I never heard anything like that. But he said, he was like, yeah, if that didn't happen to me, he's like, I'll be on you. He's like, because you are gorgeous. And he's like, I can see that you're gorgeous, but you don't do anything for me. And I'm over here on the sideline, like, you do something for me. I'm slinging pipe. What'd he do? I was like 3 years younger, and she was like the same height as me, so I ain't really stand a chance. She was a real thoroughbred. You dig? Aaron, if you're watching, holla at it. Anyways, what of that makes sense to you or jives with anything you've heard from folks or any experience you've had?
I mean, it did. Those experiences did not happen to me in terms of my mother's relationships. But I have heard, and I always tell people, I can tell you stories. I have heard some from the gentlemen I've dealt with in the past. I have heard some stories. I'm like, wow, I've heard, and I'm not going to out their business, but I've just heard some stories of those similar stories. So I do know childhood plays a part in everything. I forget, there's a great philosopher, I forget, because I told you I love reading.
Mhm.
I was an English major, so I enjoy reading, and I forget this philosopher's name, but he talked about where basically children entirely are growing up. They're so in a rush to be adults and not just enjoy the simplicities of childhood. Um, I don't I'll put it this way. There are many times where I want to tell my mother, I think you damaged me in so many ways, like because there are even doors that I know I should be in and that I
Mhm.
should have gotten the opportunity to be in. But all throughout my 20s, I was just trying to find myself. I didn't know if I wanted to be white. I didn't know if I wanted to be black.
Damn, goddamn.
I was
Where did
dealing
you
with all
grow
of
up?
that. Tampa, Florida.
There ain't enough niggas in Tampa, Florida.
That's the problem. It was too many.
Oh, okay, okay. You're like,
It was,
I don't want to be like these Negroes.
oh,
Absolutely not.
it got to
Poppycock.
the point where I remember just recently this happened when I went back home. I was walking in the house. My mom didn't know I was in the she didn't know I was coming, and
Mhm.
she was on the phone with some friends of hers, and I heard her stating, well, my son really want to be white anyway, how he talk, and the way he writes poetry and how he sings and all that kind of stuff. And I always say
Damn, she going off on you.
pretty much, and
That's crazy.
I didn't say anything. I just stood in the hallway and started crying, and I ended up just walking out.
How old were you at that time?
This just happened a couple months ago.
Oh, damn. So she really in your spirit with it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, and that's always been a thing with my family. Oh, he's too this, he's too
Mhm.
that. I'm not black enough, and just me. Some people feel like even because I consider myself a pro-black man. Now, when I'm getting
Mhm.
in a conversation about politics, I can really go deep about that because I'm very passionate about my
Let me ask
community.
you a strange question. Now,
Sure,
why is it you didn't walk in there, hear your mom dragging you through the dirt, and think, dumb bitch, and then just like walk off? You heard me?
because uh, when I get with my mom, I always say this. I always revert back to getting to being a child, and I feel like I can't speak up. I feel like I can't say what I need to say respectfully because as a child, I always heard honor thy mother and thy father and all that
Mhm.
kind of. It wasn't until I was a grown man and a church member of mine said to me, "Well, the Bible also says parents should not provoke their children into wrath." But I'd never heard that scripture.
Does
And
that
I was
person know
grown.
that being gay is an abomination?
Well, possibly, but my mom wasn't really into the church like that.
I'm talking about the person who told you about that scripture.
Oh, I just heard it I just always heard that in our
Okay.
community. Yeah.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily church people. It was just in the community,
Got you,
you know?
got you. By the way, for the folks watching the stream, being that there's nearly no support, and I think this is one of the most eye-opening streams you'll get, because most folks are just like so closed off and they feel attacked and all this other stuff. If folks don't support the work within 4 minutes, I'm going to cut the 2 YouTube streams and we're going to be just only on twitch.tv. I'm also going to cut the Instagram as well. So if we don't see folks supporting, we're cutting Instagram, we're cutting both YouTubes. We're going to be exclusively on Twitch. So you can use the information below to support the work. And thank you to those who are already on Twitch. Now, just to go back, because I'm not going to lie to you, I find it very interesting that homosexuality will pop up in yourself and your brother, and your sister would be, very much so getting ran through. Did your sister ever do anything homosexual, or she stayed strictly to the penis string?
Not to my knowledge. I mean,
Mhm.
my sister seems like she enjoys. I've never asked her, and I don't think she's ever told me. If I had
Mhm.
to guess, maybe here and there, but I just don't.
Yeah, she a
We don't
dabbler.
really, we don't really even communicate like that because
Really?
our relationship was always strained because my mother favored her and
Mm.
she used that. Like I always say, I think when I came along, my mother just wasn't interested anymore. And she just
She was like, I put my
she
work
just
in,
she
you
just
just
wasn't
here.
interested. And it was my sister, even my aunts and people would always, would tell her stop favoring that girl over those boys. It was a constant, and she doesn't even remember. I try to tell my mom, no, mom, like you mentioned many times that my sister was your favorite child, but
Mhm.
it seems like when parents do certain things or grandparents, they forget after a certain amount of time.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't have any integrity, and if you're a narcissist, like you're all about you anyway, so you're not observing how what you do affects other people. And there's no doubt that there may have been some things off with your mother. Do you believe that if you were raised by, let's say, a, a very decent mother and father who were together in a happy, healthy marriage, do you believe that you would have ended up guzzling Skittles?
Very much possibly, but I also believe I would have just, with the amount of talent and intelligence that I have,
Mhm.
I would have been in many doors that I know I should be in.
Mhm.
Because everything always rolls back to childhood. I remember when I started getting counseling, I remember I told my counselor, every time I ever had an opportunity that I thought was really good to me,
Mhm.
everything about my childhood just seemed to pop to the surface.
Mhm.
Everything.
So you do believe that, of course, I think you're correct that you would have had been better positioned to thrive in the world. There's no doubt about that. But you also believe that you probably still would be guzzling Skittles even if you would have had a proper mother and father.
You know, I want to always say yes, but I have met a lot of black men from the LGBT community who were raised by women, raised by a woman and a father, very
Mhm.
present in that home. Sometimes I've met guys who their fathers were more present than their mothers in terms
Mhm.
of that right there. I only can speak from my experience.
Yes.
Um, I like to think that some of those early behaviors with that physical abuse that played a part in it, but
Mhm.
it's
By physical abuse, what do you mean, like extreme corporal punishment, or
oh
what do you
yes,
mean by
and
physical abuse?
as I told you, that's why that video really did something to me.
Ah, I see. I see. I
When
see.
I
Yes.
saw it, I'm like, I got beat with a bat. I got you
God
know
damn.
pool sticks. Uh,
Pool sticks.
yeah, we had a pool table in our house, and she broke those pool sticks on me and my brother.
Uh-huh.
One, she threw boiling hot water on me. I just always had to be, I had ADHD and I was a hyper kid. Like I was, my
See,
personality.
I don't think that ADHD actually exists. I think that's a euphemism for bad parenting. And it's
To a
easy for
degree.
bad parents to to say, "Oh, my kid has ADHD," as
Well,
opposed to
no.
I didn't take out the time."
Oh, absolutely. Okay. In a sense, some parents will use this to collect, and that's what was happening with my mother. I was getting a disability check
Hmm.
up until I was 18, and I
Hmm.
remember when I was 18, my mother actually said to me when I was going to speak with the counselor, she said to me, if you go in there and act like you have the sense that you do, they're not going to give you that money.
Right. Right.
And I was never really, I would say pretty good at academic, always was a great reader, great writer. Only thing I struggled with in school was like math and science. But when it came to
Hmm.
history, all that, I was always, just pretty good at, those things. But mom was just, she used the system a lot.
Yeah, she's a degenerate. Respectfully, she's a degenerate, and it's okay because some of our challenges is that we think that we have to associate goodness or high qualities and we have to revere our parents no matter who they are. Well, sometimes your parents are dirtbags, sometimes they're dishonest, sometimes they're not intelligent, sometimes they're manipulative. And because we share blood with them, it doesn't mean that we too are low persons just because our parents may have major character flaws or character deficiencies. One of the things that saddens me about counseling is so often, that it basically is a chronic thing. They never kind of get you fixed up and get you out of there.
Yeah.
Someone like yourself who's reasonable and I believe can deal with the truth. I think you really needed an iron fist to, hey buddy, Here's what it is. You might be smarter than most of the people that you're around. You may have been misplaced into the wrong family in some sense. Your mother may be intelligent, but she's a manipulative narcissist, and her self-focus is never going to change because mostly people don't change. So you have to love you, and you have to get on in this world. You need to be more ambitious. You need to start X, Y, and Z behaviors that will help you build on your self-esteem, because right now you're underperforming. And we can all see that. It's as clear as day that you're not performing at your true level. But here's the good news. You're 34, which is still a young man in your 30s, and you still have a lot of time, and you can outperform even your wildest dreams, even still today. And I encourage you to do so. And I surmise that a lot of what you've dealt with and the fragility that you experience is a direct result from things that A, were not invested into you as a child, and B, things that were ripped out of you as a child that were probably already there. The self-esteem was probably already there. Then she beat it out of you with a bat. She beat it out of you with insult. And just the idea that at your age, you hear your mother say, oh, well, he wants to be white. Now, mind you, this is some of the most idiotic kind of language. And there's some females like that. I even have females around me that are just woefully negative out of their mouth. And it's evil. It's deeply, deeply evil. And to hear your mother say that is disturbing. But at your age, the fact that it had any impact, there's obviously a lot of healing to do. And I don't think a therapist is going to tell you like I'm going to tell you, which is like, bro, knock that shit off. She's not about to change. And you knew that. You 3 decades in with her. She's not going to change. So you pretty much have to think of it like you're a dumb bitch, which is what it is, and then carry on.
You know, and I'll say this. I have a friend of mine who literally, this is a female friend who we've been friends for like since 2013, and she refuses to even meet my mother because she knows certain stuff that she just feel like it's no point in us talking and et cetera, et cetera. But I wanted to go back specifically when you mentioned why I didn't go into the room when I was, because for one, you know.
No, I didn't say, why didn't you go into the room? I said, why didn't you say this is a dumb bitch and just walk off? You heard me? Like, I would have, listen, I'd have probably, your mom, I would have stopped dealing with her years ago. Like your mom, if I was her son, she wouldn't have heard from me in like a cool 2 decades because there's no value add there. There's no value add whatsoever.
And many people tell me, why you don't cut that off? Why? And I think that's the hard part, because the thing about my mom is that one day we were sitting and we were, you know, we didn't share like I was criticizing Vice President Kamala Harris, and my mother was, you know, supportive of her and other things like that. But you know, I'm a radical, so I don't really think much of Democrats or Republicans, especially when it comes to Black Americans. My mother made a comment about spitting. I don't know how we got on that topic, but we were all in the living room. We were talking about, oh, that's the most disgusting thing somebody could do. And me and my brother looked at each other and we just started laughing, and we just started busting out laughing. And apparently she's forgotten about the many times she did it to us.
Your mother spit on you?
In my face. That was her trait.
I'm going to just repeat this real quick, my boy. Your mother spit in your face?
Many times. I don't remember.
They said many times. That's crazy. For everybody watching, I want you guys to know this. You might sometimes feel like your mother or father didn't do enough. You might sometimes feel like they didn't do you right. There are so many damn levels. And that's why I tell people, sometimes people say things are trauma. I'm like, that's not trauma. That's just life. There are many times I feel like my mother didn't do as good a job as she should have or could have. But in maturity, and when I say immaturity, I'd say like maybe from age 18 plus, maybe 20 plus, I realized she is who she is. She did the best she could. And that's based on the level of person she is. Now, that being the case, there are certain things she's never got anywhere near doing, like spitting in my face. Like this, I couldn't even imagine her doing something like that. That's quite extreme. So I want everyone to know that no matter how bad your parents may have been, you probably should be thankful for them, because they probably would have never even considered spitting in your face. Your mom need her ass whooped. Like low key, if you slide me her number, I might whoop her ass when I see her. You said, is she in Florida still?
She's in Florida.
She's in Florida, man. If you don't slide me her photo, I'm posted on my community tab. Somebody needs to slap fire from her when they see her. Like, if that's not the most dirtbag activity I've ever heard of in my life, that's ridiculous.
And it was always with my mom. when I got to the point where our relationship, it was just back and forth. I would get mad. I would punch holes in the walls. I would, you know, stab holes in the furniture just out of retaliation. And and I said to her that day when we were talking about that, I said, apparently you forgot. And it wasn't the fact that she did it, it was the way she did it. She would hack up, like she would make that annoying noise of, yeah.
She hawk a loogie and then spit in your face.
And she would always tell us, that's how I feel about you. That was always her ending.
Evil, pure evil.
And it was certain things. It was so many things that were just like, for instance, if I got suspended or was, bad kid. And here's the thing. I wasn't like this with everybody else. When I was with my godmother, I was like a perfect angel. When I was with my aunt, perfect angel. It was in my mom. I just always rebelled against her because after a certain time, my mom would just, when it came to her way of discipline, I remember me and my older brother.
That's not discipline though, and that's something I talk about, which is the black female, the single mother. This happens to single mothers in general, but especially that black female single mother, just so aggressive and mean, and they emasculate the male child.
We could tell. Me and my brother talked about this. We could feel, like if we were at our grandmother's house, our aunt's house, we could feel when my mom, like we would say, "Oh, mom's here," and my aunt
like, you felt that evil just good Lord.
We could just feel it, and I'll never forget. My aunt was on the couch. She'd say, "I don't hear nobody," and before we knew it, we hear a knock at the door. It was something about her energy. Women, like growing up, my brother and I had very different personalities. I was more of a neat freak. He was more of a, clothes everywhere, all of that.
Damn, not a sloppy gay guy.
And I'll never forget. I threw a bag of powdered sugar at the back of his head because we had gotten into a fight, and we were always fighting about, brothers. We were just fighting about dumb stuff, and don't. And I threw a bag of powdered sugar at the back of his head, and powdered sugar,
yeah.
And mom, came home and asked who did it, and of course, about pointing to me because I did do it, and she felt that I was wasting her money, and she made me get on my knees and lick that powdered sugar off the floor. And
hey, boy, I want the movie rights. Listen to me, man. This man name got 4 accent marks in that mug. So remind all of the people your name.
My name is pronounced Demontre Devon Cole. That's my name.
Amen. We're gonna name the movie. You said Demontre?
Demontre. That's my name.
That we're gonna call the movie Demontre. We might have to leave off some of them damn accent marks so the white folks can type it into Google. But we're gonna call this movie Demontre. I want the movie rights because this is crazy right here. Have you written a book?
My editor is in South Africa, actually. And she always tells me, because I'm a really good writer. As I told you, I just applied for Johns Hopkins actually for their MFA in creative writing. Okay. Many people tell me that my best story that I'm going to write is my own. Yeah. Because just how I write, like I love writing about Harlem Renaissance, the free people of color in Louisiana, all that kind of stuff. But oftentimes for me, I can talk about my life, but it's something about when you write it. Yeah. You have to live it again in a sense to where you feel it way more. Like I can talk about it and just brushes off of me. For me, when I'm writing, everything, my body, my mental, my energy, I have literally written poems, essays. I wrote an essay about and sent it in to try to get it published about the black man who just was executed, Marcellus Williams. I wrote
a dead now though, but hey, check this out. Yeah, we're gonna have to work on that, and we also got to convert a lot of stuff because, there are a lot of things I can hear in your communication, which is a representation of your thinking. I have something called Boss University. It really emphasizes linear, masculine business thinking, and I think probably someone like you have multiple talents, which is sometimes more of a burden than an advantage, and you probably start a lot of things and don't finish them. Or you take too long to do something that doesn't have to take a long time. And I can in part notice it when I ask you a question. I ask you about women. Next thing you know, we're talking about men. I ask you about writing your story. Next thing we know, we're talking about a master of fine arts. So it's going to be that focus, especially at your current age, where maybe you didn't maximize on your 20s. that level of intense focus that's going to get you to where you should be in life. It's that productivity. And I want to encourage you the way I was encouraged. And I'm glad I was encouraged because I didn't want to write a story of my life. And unlike you, I didn't consider myself a writer, though I can write very well, but I didn't want to be a writer. I didn't consider myself a writer, but I was admonished to write my story. And I admonish you to do the same thing. It sounds actually quite fascinating. And also, I believe it'll be therapeutic for you. But most importantly, it'll be profitable. And I think you can use some profit. I think we can all use some profit. So hopefully I can help you push that forward in whatever way. Anyways, let me acknowledge some of the folks supporting the work and send in your questions for the gentleman. This man has a story if I ever heard one. This good brother has a story. And that's why I tell you guys constantly, like, you weren't traumatized. That was life. You think your mama traumatized you. She ain't spit in your face, though, now, did she? Shout out to Alexander supporting the work using the Stripe link in the description of the YouTube video. I also acknowledge Mr. Tabbitt supporting the work. Appreciate you. Shout out to those men who stand up, make their name known. Shout out to Vernon as well, supporting using the Stripe link. May I also acknowledge Mr. Canton came in via PayPal, writes Peace of the Saints. Shout out to Roderick, came in a strong way via PayPal. He writes, what are the odds both brothers are homosexuals? Extremely low. And you know what I was thinking as I was listening to the horrors that your mother put you through. And truth be told, I hope somebody beat her ass when they see her waiting for the bus. I truly believe that it is very easy to want nothing to do with women when you grow up under a matriarchy with a woman spitting in your face, degrading you, putting you down, limiting your opportunities, pushing down your self-esteem. I think that is the easiest way in the world to be turned off by the human female.
Absolutely. I never look. Mr. Marquez, I never denied that. I knew early on. I didn't look at women with disgust, but I also knew that I had a trust of them not trusting. And it was just not even just my mom. You know, her mother was very similar. You know, my grandmother, my grandmother and I don't talk, but here's what my grandmother, when I was in counseling, and I specifically feel like I stopped counseling because I felt like in the beginning I wanted a Black woman, but I just felt like this ain't doing nothing for me. Like, I'm just talking to you about my life. It just ain't doing nothing.
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable writing and getting this out through my
What
writing.
ethnicity was your counselor? What gender and ethnicity?
She was African, actually.
No kidding. It was a Black African woman.
She was from Kenya.
Ain't that a bit?
She was from Kenya. I said to her when we talked about my grandmother, I said I wrote my grandmother a letter after my great grandmother, who I love dearly, passed away. I wrote my grandmother a letter, and she called me, and we didn't talk because one, I was in the middle. I was entertaining at the time when she called me, so I couldn't talk to her. And I remember, I always say women hold a remarkable touch because I wouldn't have wrote that. I would not have written that letter, not just because my counselor, but the woman I was dealing with at the time. She was like, right after we were done doing our business, I was complaining to her about, my counseling. And she said, just write your grandma a letter. So I did that and kind of mailed it to my grandmother and just talked about things that we went through. And her response was to me is that she gave it to God, and she left it there. Because I mentioned to her, when I was in the second grade, she would.
Your grandmother said that she gave it to God.
Yeah, she's a minister.
Oh, see, boy, there's so much evil in your lineage. Good Lord. They don't even follow God. There's no such thing as a female minister according to the Bible. That's pure narcissism right there. And gave it to God means that I ain't got to do no work on it. I'm going to let somebody else work on it, meaning actually nobody. Extraordinary.
I've always said that is that it's interesting how you can do people wrong and then you can turn around and say, I gave it to God, because all I was saying to her wasn't the letter, was I was expressing many things, but one in particular, when I was in the second grade, she would always make little threats. But, when you're a kid, you don't take it seriously. She would always say, one of these days, I'm going to just tie you down and just beat you for everything you ever did. And, you're not thinking,
your grandma said
that. And what's the point? And that was just like her saying, I didn't think much of it. It just wasn't. And then it was in my second grade year, one morning I was asleep and she woke me up, beating me with the extension cord, and she gave stockings to my brother and my sister, and she forced them to hog tie me while she beat me with that extension cord. And
Well, your
to
brother and
this
your
day,
sister were
I still have not. They had to, because we were kids. What
right, right.
really
They're
could you do?
following
Say
the
no,
authority.
and you. So even with me, literally, I have I've had partners tell me I talk in my sleep. I wake up, still have nightmares over this stuff, and it's just it's hard because I know what I bring, like artistically, and I'm someone said something in the comments earlier, and I wanted to address that. It wasn't nothing negative, but they
Okay.
mentioned about why didn't my mother put me into sports and things like all this kind of stuff to keep me, because
Mhm.
I was a very active child. I always had to
Yeah.
be in something.
Yeah.
Um,
Which, mind you, is a boy's nature. That like they call it ADHD and all this. No, no, that's a human male's nature. That's the wiring. Go ahead though.
like, and I'll just give a perfect example. Like my aunt had a huge catfish tank, and I just was
Mhm.
so interested in the catfish, I got up and like got in the physical tank and tried to catch. Like that was just my personality as a
Yeah.
kid. I was always
Yeah.
into something,
Mhm.
but from I never understood football. I never understood the purpose of you know throwing a ball, and it just don't get me wrong. When I played,
Mhm.
I could play because I'm a big guy. I can naturally
Mhm.
do anything, but I enjoyed reading. I enjoyed making art. I
Mhm.
enjoyed singing,
Mhm.
and even when I started to sing and my voice was uh more operatic,
Mhm.
I got backlash from a lot of people, my
Mhm.
family. I called a sissy, and there's
Good Lord. Did you ever play the flute?
I did not.
Okay, well, there you
I did
go.
not.
That helps. That helps. Because the
Um,
flute, definitely niggas playing the flute. They're like, oh no, this nigga right here, boy. But it sounds as though you basically came from a lower class family and you did not reflect their values, which only made things worse for you. Then another piece with regards to the
I'll be the
uh,
first to graduate from college when I graduate next month.
and that's a damn shame in 2025. And I'm rooting for you. I'm absolutely rooting for you. With regards to the things that maybe you didn't feel inclined to or the things that you didn't like, one thing that wise cultures know is it doesn't really matter what kids like or kids feel drawn to. You definitely should let the kid do the things that they're inclined to and the things that they like. And then there are other things that are necessary parts of maturation that the
Yeah.
kid needs to experience, whether they like it or not. And those are the important things. Proper father, one who cares, is going to enforce. But you've had a heck of an experience. But I really hope that you can hear my voice in your head pushing you along because there are a lot more things for you to get in this world, and time is of the essence. Shout out to Mr. McNear writes,
Yo, you too.
has anyone ever touched him against his will?
They have.
You want to give any more notes on that?
Sure. Lots. I'm very transparent. I'm very
Sure.
honest about my story. The first time it happened, I can relate to being about 5 years old.
Hmm.
I had an older cousin who's now deceased.
Hmm.
He was what we call undiagnosed, had problems, but no one took it serious. We just thought he was lazy or whatever. He would, when we would go visit my great grandmother, this would be my mom's grandmother, my mother's father's mom. She was
Hmm.
in a wheelchair bound, so she couldn't get upstairs to the second floor.
Hmm.
So when all the cousins would get together, my older cousin would make the cousins that were under his age but older than me do things to me, and you don't think much of it. You just they would touch me and make me do things and et cetera, et cetera. Um, but I always say not to tell, all that. And when I got to be about, I want to say about 13, 14, um, at this point, I'm already sexually active, preferably, with girl. I didn't start. I tell people all the time, I wasn't voluntarily with a man until I was 24. So I was well a grown man doing my own thing. But I was at a bus stop and this man, for content, I don't want to go into
Okay.
but he exposed himself to me at this bus stop. I was basically, and I always say it's crazy because we shouldn't even have been at that bus stop at that late at night. I mean, we
Right.
basically were playing video games with our next door neighbor, and my mom came to get us, and we were out playing with our friends. And she said, "Well, I'm not coming to get y'all. Y'all just walk home." And this was a distance. We lived,
Yeah.
that walk had to be at least an hour, but we didn't walk.
Jesus.
We didn't walk. The lady gave us bus fare. So we were sitting on the bus, and my brother didn't see anything because he was standing at the curb watching for the bus. And this man, regular man, was sitting there. Didn't think much of it. When I look back at it, I don't think he was as old as I thought he
Right.
was.
Right.
'Cause you know how when you're young, you think somebody is so ancient, but they're really not.
Right.
And
Right.
he was sitting there, and I didn't think much of it. But his conversation became more. It turned from just friendly. It turned to more, are you with girls, this and this, and then he started touching me and all this kind of stuff, and then he exposed himself, and he pretty much made himself, in front of me, and I went home. I was really, because I remember I was sitting there drawing Pokemon cards.
What age was that at?
I was about 12, 13. About 12,
Mm,
13. I was in
yeah.
middle school, and went home and told my mom. And my mom was literally in the bathroom taking a,
Mhm.
and I'll never forget her response. She said, "Had you come home on time, that wouldn't have happened." Now she did go and look for the guy. Her and my aunt. My aunt grabbed her gun, and my mom grabbed her machete, and they went looking for him. But at that point, she already had said what she had to say to me. But what I didn't tell her, and I'm very honest, and when I write my book, I'm going to be honest with this part. The man told me, he had told me where he lived. He said, "I live such and such, the White House, etc." And I remember when he got up and walked off, I actually walked behind him and kind of stopped him, and um, I had asked him, like, where, and my only thing to ask him was how long. Now, what I did not know is I could have put myself in a really bad position, but when I look back at it, I hate to say it, that was the only man that had showed me any type of affection. Every other man that was in our life were just a-holes. My mom's boyfriends, my father's brothers were not really involved. My grandmother, as I told you when I wrote her that letter, I told her about her little boyfriend, Mr. Frank, who used to punch me and my brother in our stomach when we were literally in elementary school. Like, we just didn't have, uh when I would get suspended from school, I was sent to my uncle Stanley. He owned a mechanic shop, and he would lock me in an old hearse. That was my punishment because he had a bunch of old cars, and he would throw me in the back of this old hearse, and I just had to stay in the hearse. Eventually, I would fall asleep, and he would take me out, or he would take me out to the field, and he would chop down trees with the machete and sit a chair out there. He would make me sit in that chair for hours. Now, I was a clever kid. I just would, whenever I got suspended, mom would drop me off there. And as soon as she pull off, I take off running and pretty much go to my other grandmother's house, who was loving and caring and everything that I wanted. And so I hate to say it, that experience with that man, I'm not going to say I wanted something to happen. I just wanted some affection. I wanted some love. I'm not getting this. I'm seeing my dad once every year or so in the prison. I'm literally have to be yanked from him. I can remember stories. My mom literally picking me up and literally pulling me off my dad, and he's telling her, take him on, Sonia, get him out of here, get him out. Just that was my experience with my father. But uh, it was unfortunate because I hate that that's there, that's in my head, that the first experience, well, not first, but that particular one with that
Mhm.
man. And the one with my cousin happened, and some other things happened, but that one particularly with that man, it was like I didn't even see the sexual part. I saw a man giving me some type of positive attention, because
Mhm.
again, my mom, her boyfriends, you know, we would hear her boyfriends beat her. Well, specifically one. So they weren't really interesting. And then it was that one really, I just think that just it messed my head up. And I put in my autobiography is that I went looking for that man a couple of days later. Um,
Wow.
because I didn't. And my counselor asked me what was I expected to find. Some love. I was not thinking a sexual thing. I really wasn't. I wasn't thinking I'm going, because again, he could have physically did some damage to me at that age, way more than whatever. But I wasn't looking for that. I just wanted some love. I wanted someone. My second grade teacher, who I'm still in contact with, a white woman. I remember I got on the floor and grabbed this woman's leg, and I begged her to take me home with her. I begged her to adopt me. I begged her to, and I'll never forget the minute I'll never forget 3232. They called the number in my bus, and I just took off running because I didn't want to miss that bus. Because I knew mom was not going to drive way to Carrollwood to come and get me. But I really wanted love. I wanted to know that I was important. When you spend your life in competition with your sister all the time,
That's deep. That's
what
deep.
she's praised, and I ain't gonna put my, but I don't really know what my sister's talent is. I'm just keeping it real.
Getting ran through, but go ahead.
I like, I have a lot of great qualities about me. Again, when I was in my 20s, my goal was I'm going to sing at the Metropolitan Opera. I'm going to be the next great opera singer. This one I'm going to sing all the great bass roles. And what I didn't know was that required a lot of discipline that I didn't have. I had a very trouble staying focused for too long of time. It was just a lot. I didn't know what was going on up here. I used to always say I need to get some sort of test because something is not right in my brain. I can't sit down for too long. I'm always fidgeting.
I can't. I haven't. I have not.
Too,
yes. Not that you can't. You can. You just have not. It's like a fat person saying, like, I can't lose weight. No, it's not that you can't. It's that you have not lost weight, which is a set of behaviors. And obviously, the mind controls everything. And you've had a lot on your mind for pretty much always your whole life. Shout out to Jaden supporting the work using the Stripe link. I appreciate you. May I also acknowledge Rudolph. He writes, peace to the saints. And may I also acknowledge, let's see, Al-Batar. He writes, that's sad. I hope he saves himself from drowning. Nonetheless, sass or nothing. Peace of the saints. Yeah, and you have every chance to do so. And, the truth is, no matter how messed up things were in your childhood, and I'm going to sign off, it was terrible. Far worse than mine, that's for sure. You're an adult. And the good news about being an adult versus a child is that you're now in control and you got to get to work. Shout out to Darius. And that doesn't mean it was fair or that you got a fair shot. You didn't, but that is what it is. Shout out to Darius. He writes, peace of the saints. Salute to the big homie. What should I do, Saint, if I'm currently out of work due to health reasons, having seizures and stomach issues? That's serious. Unable to work a regular 9 to 5, going out on a job, that is, but have a few thousand set aside. I will send the rest on the next note. So when you say, what should I do? Well, first you should figure out what you can do. So if you're not able to go to a 9 to 5, you need to ask yourself, how can I work for myself? How can I be an independent contractor? How can I work remotely? Because having cash incoming is hugely important. I absolutely hate the idea of having a single day in my life where I spend more than I earned that day, which is damn near why I work every single day and have like ever since I can remember. So figure out how to get that income in and figure out what you can do, not what you cannot do. That is the clear part. The part of what you can do is where you need to focus your attention at this time. I also acknowledge Mr. Morgan. He writes, and I need some income to cover my monthly expenses. Well, you should check into getting disability. If you're having seizures, surely you should be able to get on the government dole. He writes, I'm taking the time to recover and I know I can still bring something in. What would you recommend if I'm trying to get ahead and get some income flowing? He writes, a course, a consultation. Well, if I were you and I don't have a lot of context on you, I'd say the course on how to start, how to create a product-based business with $500 or less is a great place to start because it gives you fundamental knowledge on entrepreneurship and product-based business you can do from the comfort of your own home. And that is really what you need right now. So it'll give you the fundamental knowledge and it's a low cost introduction to product-based business. And the good thing as a member, you have all the support in the world once you get that information. Oh, and by the way, shout out to, I do want to make this announcement. I support a lot of men and women who create products, and Isaiah has created a suitcase, fine suitcase. I purchased it myself. And for those coming on the drip trip, it's 60% off of that suitcase. And for those of you who want to just grab the suitcase, I encourage you to do so. You can get it at thesassin.com, THESASN.com. Click products, and none of that money goes to me. It all goes to someone like you who decide to learn entrepreneurship so that they can improve their life. Shout out to Roderick. He writes, really informative live. He's easily one of the most civil guests I've seen. We really need to spread the way of the Assassin. Oh, absolutely. And, one of the important things about this conversation is that I'm consistent every way through. If I talk to someone I agree with, don't agree with, black, white, heterosexual, homosexual, feminist, normal woman, whatever the case is, I'm consistent, and I'm generally just a reflection of them. Yeah. If they want to go off the deep end, well, then let me put on my scuba gear. And I think the gentleman has conducted himself in an honorable way. He's had very thick skin, been easygoing, and that's why the conversation is civil. Sometimes you'll see folks in the live show like, Marquette's mean. No, I'm not mean. I'm just going to engage people with what they come for. And if they come with aggressiveness, I just happen to be better at being aggressive. This gentleman, everyone knows, I don't even know if you know, maybe you do know, I don't condone homosexuality in any form. I don't believe bisexuality exists. I don't promote homosexuality. I think it's going to lead people to bad outcomes. But I'm going to treat you with respect because you've engaged as a respectable person. And you've earned that. That's something that you're entitled to. And I think that people need to understand that. And even when folks talk about gay rights, I don't think there need to be any gay rights. I think gays have all the rights that heterosexual people have. And people might say, well, Marquette, you don't agree with homosexuality. Yes, but that doesn't mean I think you should hunt them down in the streets or call them names or deny them opportunities or try to abuse them. You see, because people who do that, these are people who probably have some problems with themselves. You see, you can only give out that which you are. So people who are miserable and unhappy, they're taking out the hatred inside of them onto other people. It doesn't have anything to do with the other person being gay. It doesn't have anything to do with the other person being black. It has everything to do with the person who is hateful. And so this is a civil conversation because he's engaging in a civil way, and I commend him for that. It's a great example. I yield the floor to you.
But I'll say this. I am at an age where I'm aware of what I need to work on, what I need to. But sometimes I get so frustrated when I'm always going back, when I'm always remembering, when I'm always, again, when I'll give you a perfect example. Like I follow this professor named Adam Walker. He was an English professor at Howard University.
Okay.
And he speaks with the great literaries from Robert Frost to Maya Angelou, James Baldwin, Pauline Hopkins, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Sir Thomas More, all the greats. And I always get so mad. I'm like, I belong in that room. Like, I know I could, my level of intelligence when it comes to literature, like I know I could, give an excellent lecture on the Harlem Renaissance, the free people of color in Louisiana, but just writing in general, and you're always stuck in this, for those 10 years when I graduated from high school, I remember thinking, what the am I going to do? I remember
you ain't the only one, bro. You ain't the only one.
I remember trying to figure out, I don't know left or right. I remember my counselor in high school tried to get my mother to hand over my Social Security. I mean, my disability check, and basically put in an account for me leading up to graduation. Mom didn't want to do that.
Of course not. Of course
and
not.
I have this, one of my teachers, I stayed on her couch actually for about a week. My mom was always kicking me out and et cetera, et cetera. But my teacher had to tell me I couldn't do it because basically my mother went to the school board and told the school board that these particular teachers were trespassing, and they were basically taking, and just all of this manipulation for no apparent reason. It was just, and I think what struck a chord with that conversation on Facebook, I don't want to use the word jealous, but I do think there was something about me that just ticked my mom off that I don't know if she didn't understand, because she was famous for saying, I don't understand my son. I don't understand him. He listens to Ella Fitzgerald. He watched black and white silent films. He knows Paul Robeson and Josephine, stuff of Wayla, even her time. So she would always tell people, I don't understand him. I don't get my son. And it was I just felt like this was even today, I'm grown. I'm a grown man, 34. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when I'm around her, I just get to be 3 years old again, and I can't speak my mind, and I cannot say, because what I really want to say to her is I don't really need an apology at this point. I just acknowledge the fact that you effed up and you did it.
Yeah, no, bro. That's not going to happen. Listen, and that's why I'm glad you're here, because none of that is going to happen. And your therapist ain't going to be as raw as me. Yeah, no, your therapist is going to bullshit you. Yeah, ain't none of that going to happen, my boy. Here's the kicker. There's some things that you find that you cannot control. If you were to observe me in my life, you probably never observe me get to the boiling point in temperature in my real life. That doesn't mean that I don't get to the boiling point in temperature. That doesn't mean that I'm not a violent person. I am, in fact, a violent person. That means that none of the environments and the people I choose to be around will arouse those feelings, because I've selected to not engage those environments and those people, because I know that there's certain people that I cannot control it. It's going to come out. So it's not that I'm better at controlling violence. My instinct for violence is that it doesn't get engaged. Just like you said, when I show up around my mother, I go back to being 4 years old, or I go back to being a victim, or I go back to being this or that, or I want her to apologize. Look, my boy, you could figure out how to fix that, or you could say my energy is better dedicated elsewhere. Why would I figure out how to be have an easier time getting along with somebody who's a dirtbag? You'd be better off just not being around that person that's a dirtbag and allocate that energy to say, hey, okay, I'm 34 years old. I feel behind. I feel like I'm a great writer. I feel like I'm intelligent. Let me prove it to myself above all. Because, hey, check this out. And this is a challenge I gave to myself, and I want you to give it to yourself. Don't ever say you're smart again unless you got something to show for it. And I'm not talking about a college degree, because I'll wipe my ass with a college degree. I got a lot of people I've seen have college degrees. They still broke and nobody knows their name. They're nameless. So don't ever say out loud that you're smart until you got the money to show, or you have the position in a symphony, or the position in an opera, or people know your name in your industry. So the challenge to yourself is, let me prove what I am. Let me prove what I am to me. And I tell you what, somebody in the comments wrote something, and I usually only read the ones where people send in via Venmo or PayPal, because those are the people who are serious and more likely the people who are intelligent. But I want to read you one comment that sounds smart and it sounds kind, but it's not smart and is not loving, because love is real. This person writes, quote, much respect to this man. He will succeed in life in the future. It's a declarative. He's too bright and smart to fail, end quote. This is stupidity. Being bright and smart is not going to make you successful. If you told me, Marquette, you could put your money on the smart guy or put your money on the guy who's going to try, but he ain't that smart. Give me the guy that's the man of action. It's the activities that add up to success. Even if you're not that smart, even if you make 100 attempts and 95 of them are completely idiotic, you might get lucky on the other 5. I'll put my money on the guy who's putting the work in, not the smart guy, because smart people get lost in here. Inside the mind, they get defeated. They get defeated in their thoughts and in their feelings. Your feelings are in here, in your brain. There is no heart. It's all in the brain. That's where your feelings are. So once you get in control of this right here, then you're dangerous. Until then, you just a nigga that thinks he can write. Until you wrote a book, you're a nigga that thinks he can write. Here's the kicker. Your ass is probably a way better writer than I am. I'm giving you some credit here because I'm a damn good writer. But you're probably a better writer than I am. But I have a book, so I'm an actual writer. You're a would-be writer. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you've got to get published and you got to deliver on it.
No, I published actually. I have a collection of poetry on Amazon.
Okay, very
I
good. Let us promote you then. Let us promote you. What is it called? We want folks to support you, and some folks in here I'm sure will support you. What is it called?
It's called "Home Is Where the Lilies Bloom, Petals Dancing in the Breeze."
There you go. Home is where the lilies bloom, petals dancing in the breeze. I know there's some women in there like, oh, I like that. That man know how to
But
write poetry.
but I always tell people I haven't. Right now, I partnered with that publisher. I mean, not partner. I split with that publisher. So
Mhm.
don't buy it. Like if you
Okay.
follow, yeah, because I don't, because that money is not going to come to me.
Okay.
But
Okay.
a couple of my poems and essays were actually published in the Fargo Public Library here. Actually, I did.
Congratulations.
They're like competitions and things like that. And then like my college, I'm a student at North Dakota State University. They published a couple of my poems, and again, I've had some of my essays on some literacy journals. Not, don't be wrong, I'm not knocking the small things I've done, but I would like to do more on a larger scale. Uh, but I want to say this because it was something that I really wanted to mention earlier. And I know
Okay.
when I say this, the comments are going to probably, they're going to have their way, but
Okay.
it doesn't bother me because I'd be like, I'm 6'5". Anybody gonna approach me and,
Okay.
and try me? So I don't really.
And you never know, man. Be careful. Ain't nobody too live to die. But go ahead, my boy.
True, but I'm just not that type of person. I'm like, look, if you have an issue with me,
Yeah.
if you feel comfortable to say that to me, then hey, just be comfortable. My mouth is a cutthroat when it needs to be.
Okay, what you got?
So when I was a kid, I used to dress in my mom's clothes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was always, putting on her wigs and, just dressing up.
Damn, not the wigs. At what age would you say?
Very young, very young. Throughout my elementary years, it stopped around. Well, really, it really stopped because my feet started getting big and I couldn't wear heels.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I wear a size 16, so
Okay, no, that's also crazy.
so I couldn't wear those heels anymore, or my body started filling out. I wasn't the thin little chicken boy as I was. But again, at a young age, I loved opera. I used to listen to this one particular opera called Lucia della Marmora. It was basically by a novel called The Bride of della Marmora. And one day I would take little dollars out of her purse. Now I'm a kid. I know stealing is wrong, but in my mind, I'm not thinking what I'm doing is stealing. I'm just, so basically I'm taking, and I go to the dollars, like go to the hair store, and I get this long red wig because I wanted to. And, I always wonder why people didn't question a
Your
kid.
mom had a long red wig?
No, I had been taking her money and I went to the
Oh, you went to go buy it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Damn, you was really about that life. You done
And
saved up for it.
and she had a white negligee gown that I just loved, this gown. Particularly because I just wanted to act out this role of Lucia. That's all I really cared about. I was so in love with the theater, in love with opera. I remember, so I put on the gown, I put the red wig on, and I sprayed paint all over it. Because in this particular opera, she basically kills her lover, of which she's to marry this particular day. She's being forced into a marriage. I'm just walking around the house, just listen to the music, singing along, and I end up falling asleep. I've always had a problem with sleep and all of that, so I fall asleep in this gown and in this wig, and my mom comes home, and she sees me in this gown and she sees me in this wig, and she loses it. She loses it, and next thing I remember, she was on top of me, beat me like a man. And I managed to run out, the house, and I, just ran, and she ripped the negligee off of me. But it was just moments like that. It was moments to where I realized is that, and again, I was young, had to be at least 12, 13 years old. Um, and like I have an aunt who's in Lithonia, Georgia, and she'll tell you, she saved my life once because,
Let me ask you a question.
yeah,
Strange question. Um, you ever heard of Little Richard?
love them, love
Yeah.
them.
I
In
love
terms of, don't be wrong. Now I look like, a little too much makeup, but I'm talking about musically, because I'm a
yeah.
musician, an
Hmm.
incredible pianist,
Hmm.
phenomenal singer. I mean, and
Hmm.
unfortunately, I think because of his sexuality, he did not get the credit that he was well deserving doing, because he had some of the greats that we know playing in his band and
Hmm.
doing things like that. But because he was flamboyant and because he was black and all of that, he just unfortunately did not ever get the credit that he was rightfully so due as a musician.
He was definitely a pioneer. There's no doubt about that. Some of it may have been timing. Um, I trust there are a number of factors, probably hard to calculate which ones held him back in particular. But he had a fascinating life. The only reason that I'm a touch more familiar with Little Richard is I had a just similar to you. My mother was not one that was able to take a young person who's talented and give them their best opportunities in life. Similar to you, I think if I would have had decent parents, not even good parents, just decent parents, I'd probably be farther ahead. And I'm pretty far ahead. I don't have any regrets. But when I was in elementary school, there was this white teacher. She taught a different class, and every time she would see me, she'd be like, "You are the cutest little kid." So she would lobby my mother. She's like, "You have to get this kid into acting or modeling. Your little boy is just so cute." And so my mother
My mother.
finally yielded, and I ended up in this movie called The Little Richard Story. And
Oh, with Leon.
I, who knows? I think I want to say Robert Townsend. I think was directing it. I forget who the
Yeah, I
other
think that was,
actors are. Okay.
Robert Townsend. He directed the Five Heartbeats.
Yeah.
Yeah, great director. Yeah, he was. That was Leon. Yeah.
Okay. So, and that's how I came to learn about Little Richard's actual story. Strangely, he actually had a sibling named Marquette, which is crazy, which is my government name. I wasn't playing that sibling, but anyways, as you said, as you had mentioned, Little Richard was a bit misplaced in his family too,
Yeah.
and he used to dress up in his mother's
Yeah.
clothing. And of course, during his time, which is far before your time, this is very much so frowned upon. And
Yeah.
then Little Richard ended up guzzling Skittles for a significant portion of his career. And he wore makeup, which is not entirely unusual for even heterosexual people in show business
Yeah.
to wear makeup. You have to be on camera, right?
Hmm.
But one thing people don't know about Little Richard, and I think it's because the LGBTQ is so strong today, the LGBTQ mafia, is he actually stopped practicing homosexuality.
Yeah. He
And
became a minister. Yeah.
right. And that's pretty much how he finished out his days, is saying, like kind of talking about his experiences and how he came to it and then how he came out of it. And I just thought it was a fascinating thing because it wasn't a story of like conversion therapy where someone's like
Yeah.
harassed and forced out of it. It was like his own personal journey. So he has a really fascinating story that I think many people would benefit from hearing on the business side, on the music side, on the family side, on the sexuality side, on the self discovery side. Really interesting stuff.
But I'm gonna keep it to myself. I had a good comment for somebody. I saw somebody say something, but I'm gonna keep that comment to myself because I know I can hit below the belt at times. But
Yeah, people in the chat are anonymous, and so
oh
when
yeah,
people are anonymous, they tend to say wild things. That's why I don't read the people who are making comments. I read the people who at least have $20 to say something they're serious about. Because when you can, words have no value when you can just spit them out.
absolutely. And I
Shout out
always
to
and I
Shout out to
always
Gary supporting the work. Came in using the Stripe link. May I also acknowledge Richard came in using the Stripe link as well, supporting. Shout out to Ramon writes tuition piece of the Saints. May I also acknowledge Brad writes thank you for the work. Absolutely, and thank you for our guests for being open. Shout out to the first bowler alert. Kyle came in with $100. Right, Sassin or nothing. Certainly not this, bro. I'm trying to tell you, bang. May I also acknowledge Wayne. He writes peace to the Saints tuition. Appreciate you. I yield the floor. You're about to say something.
no, I was gonna say my comment to him, because again, I got a cutthroat mouth, but I thought to myself, when you possibly read the book, The Columbian Orator, and you can write an essay about Frederick Douglass and that Fourth of July speech and what it represented, then we could probably have a conversation. But until then, your comments don't really affect me, because one thing about me, I know that I have my demons and things that I need to work on, but I also don't downplay my intelligence at the same time. I was just telling a friend, I was complaining to a teacher because in the 5 years I've been here on and off in the English department, we have went through two Black authors, Langston Hughes and Rita Dove.
Mm-hmm.
And we were instructed to write you're familiar with the haiku and the
Yeah.
tankas.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote, my versions of them. And it was basically, I'm not writing in the natural of the cherry blossoms and frogs and lily pads. And I said to her, well, I'm not Japanese, I'm Black. So my experience, I grew up, if we saw a frog in the house, we killed it.
Right.
So
Damn, y'all killed it. I'm just trying to get it to hop out of the house. Niggas catching bodies over there, boy.
I'm like, my experience when it comes to food, we weren't eating chopsticks and jabs and rice. I'm familiar with fried catfish and cornbread.
Yeah, but so about them hog mogs, though.
Yeah, I wrote about my grandmother, who, not the one who abused me, but my father's mother, who would dip her collard greens up with her cornbread.
Mm-hmm.
So I was writing about a cultural, but still
authentic experience. Yeah,
yes, but still respecting.
Let me ask you a weird question.
I'm an open book.
No, this is about food. This is about Black people food. I hate when my cornbread gets wet. Now, I haven't had cornbread since I was a child, but people put their greens on the plate with the cornbread. That always used to piss me off. It used to send me over the edge. I'm then like, what kind of animal person are you that you put greens on a plate with cornbread and get the cornbread soggy? Do you eat your cornbread wet like that, or like?
I do.
I have a nasty nigga, boy. God damn it.
It's for me a culture thing, because again, my great grandmother, I never saw her even eat out of a plate. She ate straight out the pot. I would see her eat straight out the pot as a child.
Damn,
now, she was from
slave level.
She was from Alabama. She was born in 1923. She was from Alabama. So
Lincoln freed her ass, huh?
I would see her do that, and I would see my father's mom do that. So I'm not saying I do it all the time. And on top of that, I'm a pretty good cook. I mean, I can get in the kitchen and I can go to. Oh yeah, that's the only thing my mom ever really encouraged me to do, was to go to culinary school. That's the only thing that I can safely say she actually encouraged me and told me to do. She definitely didn't say go pursue a career as an opera singer or teacher or a writer or whatever. But yeah, I mean, when I get in that kitchen, I can collard greens, hog maws, turkey necks, and fried pork chops smothered in gravy.
Turkey necks. Turkey necks. I don't even know nothing about that. He did it. That's a whole other
turkey necks and turkey chops, all that, man. But
shout out to Ernest supporting the work. I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
And of course, we can't predict the future.
Yes, sir.
In terms of how you're going to wind down your life, do you see yourself winding it down with a male or a female, or just like, hey, I don't know?
I can definitely say, hey, I don't know. I would like, I would say I am more attracted to the male sex, preferably Black men. And I always tell people all the time, look, I don't even agree with interracial relationships. So I have my own.
Come on, bro.
I don't. I mean,
come on, but you're a wild nigga, bro. Come on, man.
I mean, what really,
bro? You didn't cross the ultimate line. Now you like, look, but if that butt crack is white, I'm out.
Well, no, like for instance, me and my friends who are in the LGBT community, they always get on me because I like the content of Dr. Umar.
No, go ahead. Don't pause, but keep going.
I like some of his content. I mean, I don't agree with everything he said, but I like a lot of. I'm not a pan, and some people have called me a Pan African, and I'm like, I'm not really, because I have my quarrels with some Africans. I've had some run-ins with some Africans. I respect the culture because I understand historically and how we got here. I get that, but there are there's certain Africans who really can tick me off when it comes to how they view Black Americans
Oh,
and
absolutely.
things like that. Because that was one of the reasons, to be honest with you, I wasn't going to apply for John Hopkins, because the only Black writers that I knew who
Mhm.
had graduated from John Hopkins were Africans.
I
I'm
believe
not.
it. Real quick, by the way, folks, we're going to wrap up within 10 minutes or within 10 minutes, we're going to wrap up. So if you have any questions for the gentleman, or you just want to say, hey, thank you, or you have any questions, comments, please send them in now. You can use the information below, the PayPal or the Venmo, or if you're on YouTube, which is unfortunate, you can use the Stripe link in the description. But we are about to wrap up within 10 minutes. Send it in now, because if it comes at the end, we're gonna cut and the question won't be answered. I yield the floor back to you.
But yeah, I mean, I remember I was telling something a friend of mine. I was like this close to wanting. I was going to apply for his school. He's still with that school, and I thought, nah, because if he found out that I'm by, there's going to be a whole. He won't think I'm here. He's not going to be able to see the fact that I'm a great teacher of what I do when in terms of literature and history, and especially, I'm a good teacher, and anyone who's ever been in my classroom know I'm a very disciplined teacher. In terms of, I was teaching my students cursive handwriting. I was showing them the original documents of the Declaration of Independence, Frederick Douglass' original document of the 4th of July. These letters, these statements, and these
Can I go
speeches.
Dr. Umar on you real quick?
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I think Dr. Umar has made some contribution, but I think, unfortunately, in his current stage, he's probably more detrimental, because Black people need to understand integrity, and they need to be able to operate with
Absolutely.
integrity, honesty, transparency, accountability,
Like, I don't agree.
productivity.
I don't agree with, like, I feel like he's gotten the social media age, and I feel like people, like, he's making content. I wouldn't even think that he should even entertain those people for content, because it's like, but I understand that he's just doing it to get a check, whatever. But in terms of his book, like, he wrote a book where he talked about ADHD and psychology,
Right.
and I
Now,
read.
the original author of those ideas, Jawanza Kunjufu. And that brother is not only one who's put the ideas out there, but he also did a lot of work. He's an unsung Black hero. But with regards to this Blackness discussion, my challenge with, say, the LGBTQ in general, I don't sign off on at any level. But with regard to those who believe that they are pro-Black, I would point out that Black people, wherever you find them, generally are staunchly against the practice of LGBTQ behaviors. And in fact, in most of Africa, you'll find that there is harsh punishment, in some cases, capital punishment. And then,
Here's my opinion. Africa is look, until they fix this. Is my opinion when it comes to Africans and homosexuality. Until you fix the politics of starving children,
damn,
and the fact that you have a woman who can birth children and just abandon them with no consequence. When you fix that, then you can come and fix about who somebody is sleeping with. But all the poverty, because here's the thing about Africa. Africa ain't no different than America. The Black rich Africans don't associate with the poor Africans. Same here in the United States. The rich Negroes who live in Martha's Vineyard don't want nothing to do with the poor Negroes down in Georgia on welfare or in the projects. So until we stop looking at people based off class, and if you're willing to help somebody, that's why I find it interesting that Africans are so invested in homosexuality, but you got starving babies out here, literally babies that like precious babies.
okay.
But y'all also fix on
So now let's go on the second piece.
And majority of them who are fixed on the homosexuals be bending over themselves, and it's like, come on now, let's just keep it real, man. Let's keep it real.
All right, so here's the second piece. Then with the pro-Black stance, the most pro-Black anyone could be is to procreate Blackness, which is
absolutely,
to
and I tell people
have children.
And I tell people all the time, look, I have ain't nothing wrong over here. However, I get what people are saying about my lifestyle. I totally get that. I'm never not understanding why they have a concern. And like I say, at this point, I could have been a father already. But unfortunately, I have a very different opinion when it comes to abortion, because I had one that was miscarried, and I had one that she told me a year after she had the abortion.
Mhm.
So I totally get it. I mean, I totally get it. I'm not ever saying I think children need to be here, but I always say if all you want is a child born, you got to question your morality, because you don't want a child fed, a child clothed, a child educated, a child cared for. Because if you don't, all you got is I would rather have 14 well intelligent African American men and women who are functional mentally where they needed to be, instead of having 14 million lost Negroes who ain't doing nothing positive
Do you
for the
plan on
community.
having children?
Do I plan on having children? I would love to have children when financially I can afford them.
Understand.
Um,
And if you, so you would bring children into a homosexual relationship?
I've always been very iffy about that. I've always said I wanted to adopt a child because I just, I've done a lot of volunteer work. I see the need, and I also see a lot of black kids going to white families that I don't really care too much for either. So I always said I would love to adopt a child. Now I
Do you
haven't.
believe that, say, for example, a black male child, a
Mhm.
boy, do you think a black boy would be better off with um, two black male homosexual parents versus a white woman and a white mother and father adopting? If you hold all things constants with all of those adults, which setting do you think would be better for a black boy?
If he's raised by two white parents, there will be a loss of identity there. And I have met quite a few of them who know nothing about their culture in terms of this history. They know nothing about it. Whether if it's two men, I want to say, if they have the love, they have security, all these things, that it's not necessarily going to reflect on the children. But it's hard for me to say yes or no to that question, because there are psychopaths that come out of heterosexual homes. So it's hard
Mhm.
for me to narrow that down, because when we look at, I've seen gay men, black, who've come out of two-parent households. I've seen the opposite. So I really think it has to do with the individual, with how you are raising, because there's a difference between having a child, putting some ravioli and giving them, food and dressing them in Nikes, and raising your children. Are you helping them with their homework? Are you exposing them to more than just that little,
Roger that.
box that you've been in?
And for the record, I want everyone to know that I'm not debating the gentleman, I'm interviewing the gentleman. I'm very interested to hear the perspective. I don't agree with that at all. I agree with that 0%. Now, I could even believe that white humans, like European humans, are evil by nature. And I would
Yeah.
still believe that two heterosexual, decent white adults, a male and a female, would do a better job than two homosexual adults of whatever race, but in this case, black and black. So we don't agree at all, but I'm not debating it. I'm learning from your perspective. And
Yeah.
uh, I think you've articulated it very clearly and well. May I also acknowledge, by the way, shout out to the folks who donate to the training center. Shout out to Jermaine, supporting the training center with the baller alert. Appreciate you. May I also acknowledge Joshua, who just became a member on school.com/Marquette, SKOOL.com/MARQUETT. That's where we have all of our education, most of which is circled around things that you need to help you advance in this world, get your mind together and become productive. It's been really a pleasure to have this conversation with you, to learn from you, to hear your story, your perspective, to increase in my thankfulness. And I hope that some of this has been beneficial to you, if not all of it, and that you get on and thrive in a stronger way. And that next time we talk or encounter one another, that you have great stories to share with us. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the people as we exit?
Um, as to when it came to that video, you know, um, I want to say that um, I I just worry that she's going to cause a lot of damage, because if she's hitting him with a bat
Yeah,
that
what
we
a
can
sight.
see,
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Mhm.
all the things that we are not seeing. And when I read her story, when I listened to her, She said, oh, my son, he told me he loved me the next day. I told my mom I loved her every day, but still was hurting inside.
Right.
So that has nothing to do with it. But I
Mm-hmm.
just think we have to be very careful when we choose to discipline our children, because the outcome is we need to
Again, that's not discipline. That's abuse.
look, I
Like,
totally
that's
know.
abuse. Yes.
I get it. And you have to understand the line between discipline and abuse. I always say, when people want to quote the Bible, and we ain't gonna get on that because I have a very torn relationship with the Bible and God and religion. But I always say, when we say spare the rod, spoil the child, we have to remember the rod was not necessarily there for beating. It was there to create structure and order. And that's what we don't understand, sir. We think it's just for beating. There's a difference between beating and creating structure and order. It's basically like
That's right. It's not
it's
for your
basically like
anger.
it's basically like I always say, it's like a ballet dancer. If you go and he's hitting that staff, he's in a particular line hitting that staff. Why would you put your foot under his staff? You see, he's not moving because he's creating the structure and the order. And if you get in his way and put your foot there, your foot is just going to be shattered, So it's not there for,
I appreciate that. May I ask one favor of you? If you'd be kind enough to send me the lady's response. So the lady's response and also the original tweet that you saw. If you could DM me that, I'd be very thankful. I want to thank you for your time. Until next time, peace to the saints.
Thank you, sir.
You are very welcome.